when they hand you money is not when the actual client journey starts. The client journey starts when they are entered into the top of your funnel. When someone's walking in the door, they already have so much hesitation on just being there. Them having to stand at a door, waiting to know where to go for even just 60 seconds can feel like a long time. If you have 10 Google reviews, it may not look like a lot on Google when you just see 10 reviews, but you print those 10 things out, it starts to look like a lot. You print out your Facebook reviews, you print out, you tell some stories about clients, right? All of those things together now create this huge social proof binder that people will flip through. If you're not taking the common objections that you get and teaching them how to overcome that successfully, you are leaving money on the table. How do you 10x your wellness business, your gym, your transformation coaching program? How do you 10x that in 2025? My name is Josh Ponton, and I want to give you in this video the way that you can go ahead and pull from the mistakes that I've made, the lessons I've learned, the successes I've had in 3,000 hand-to-hand combat consults, 3,000 consults of selling transformation programs, selling weight loss services, selling coaching programs. And I want to show you how you can take some of these key principles and improve your sales process to help you 10x your business in 2025. Now, here's the deal. My business partners, for the last decade, we have made a ton of mistakes. We've had a ton of failures. We've had some bankruptcies. We've had some issues happen, but we've also had a lot of success. We've generated over $10 million in revenue, straight B2C wellness business sales. And most importantly, we've helped our clients, our wellness business owner clients, our gym owners, our clinics, our weight loss specialists. We've helped them generate over $100 million in new revenue over the last 3 years. And I want to go ahead and show you and help you take some of these principles, these lessons, and help you apply to your business in 2025. Now, this is the second video in a series on how to 10x your business in 2025. So I highly recommend, if you have not watched the first one, pause this video, hit that subscribe button so you're notified for whenever they do drop. I promise you it'll be worth it. Go back and watch the first one, because the first one really lay out kind of the blueprint, the things that matter, the things that you need to care about in order to 10x your business. What do you need to work on and focus on in 2025? If you have that, that will serve as a blueprint for what we are building off of with these next videos. And so this video here is going to be purely sales focused, all things sales to increase your closing percentage, and most importantly, increase how much cash you can collect when someone actually signs up for your business. So there's 3 things that we're going to walk through in this video. Number 1 is going to be process, your pre-sale process. So you'll see a lot of this will say process. That's the thing here, because in each of these processes are going to be key points that you can use, that you can take lessons that I've learned and apply that to your entire sales process to be able to do 2 things. 1, increase your closing percentage. Number 2, collect more cash at point of sale. So the first thing we're going to care about is going to be the pre-sale process. This is what happens all the way up until the person is actually sitting down at the consultation desk, getting ready to be sold. Number 2 is going to be that consult process and the scripting that you have for it. This is everything up to until we get to the pitch and the closing framework. And then number 3 is going to be the pitch and the closing process and everything that happens after there that's still involved in what we call the sell after the sell. If you understand these 3 things and you understand that your entire sales process, your sales system breaks down in these 3 categories, and you know how to improve each category, you can drastically improve the performance of your team, getting other people to be able to close for you more successfully, collect cash, and make sure that you can take sales from being the thing that's all on your back, right, for having success, and put a system in place that can actually be operated and can be scaled. So let's get into it with our first pillar that we're going to look at, which is going to be our pre-sale process. So in our pre-sales process, I break this down into kind of 3 main things that I recommend that we look at. Number 1 is going to be confirmation and rapport building. Number 2, pre-sale questionnaire. Number 3, social proof. So when we're looking at confirmation and rapport building, when they hand you money is not when the actual client journey starts. The client journey starts when they are entered into the top of your funnel, right? So when you run an ad, when you run a paid ad to get someone in there, you get a lead that comes in, right? They're in the first step of your funnel. That's when this process starts. And so how we confirm our appointments, how we qualify, how we build rapport throughout that process can make it a lot more likely that someone will come in the door, show up with a mindset ready to buy. And so some hacks that we can have for this is personalize the confirmation. So one thing that I would do, no matter how busy we got, is we always did a 24-hour personalized video text before someone came into their consultation. It can drastically improve your process, and it takes 10 seconds to do those. This is simply selfie mode on your video, Hey Susie, it's Josh here with 123 Fitness. I see you on my consult list for tomorrow. I am pumped to get to meet you. And I did see that you're looking to lose about 20 pounds. We're gonna dive into all of that, how we can make that happen here. Now, you'll notice that we're next to the Starbucks. Don't go in there. If you do go in there, bring me one, please. But we will see you here. We're excited for you. I'll see you at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So something like that, something high energy, it can set the expectation before they come in that this is not a standard normal business that they're walking into. This is a business that can change their lives, that's going to be a great environment, and they are going to feel welcome. And so you'll notice there also is that I mentioned about her goal. And so during our lead nurture process, it's so important that we're not just lead nurturing, calling people to just, simply say, hey, Susie, I want to confirm your appointment or get you booked for tomorrow. Right? It's figuring out, diving into some qualifying questions. Qualifying questions will be unique to your business. What are 1 to 2 to 3 things that you need to know about someone to know if they're qualified? Number 2 is going to be notes, right? What are their goals? And so diving into some of those questions on that call is going to help you build a solid frame, but to be able to put that in a note sheet so then the person doing the consult, the person doing the video confirmation can speak to that, making them even more impressed. Like, wow, if that's how they treat me in this process and I haven't even paid them yet, imagine what it's going to be when I'm a client. That's what you want them feeling like. Some other little hacks I like to do in the confirmation process is when you're on the phone, ask them, do they want room temperature or cold water when they come in? So you can have that prepared for them when they walk in the door. This drastically changes everything just up until before they get in the door. Then now we talk about rapport building when they get in the door. This is something after secret shopping dozens of businesses, after looking at the sales process of hundreds of clients that we've worked with. This is something I see people get wrong so many times. Someone can walk in the door, and I did this secret shopping. I walked in the door, and for 4 minutes, I sat there with no one telling me anything, no one saying anything, the person behind the front desk being busy doing something else. And it is a very awkward situation. And so when we look at, we're selling transformation programs, or we're selling weight loss packages, things like that. And if someone's walking in the door, they already have so much hesitation on just being there. Them having to stand at a door, waiting to know where to go for even just 60 seconds can feel like a long time. So this is where there should be someone there to greet them with high energy, give them a high five, welcome them in. So if you can improve this, if those things are not currently happening for you, you now have 3 to 4 different things that you can do in your confirmation rapport building process that will increase your likelihood of closing more deals and collecting more cash up front. The number 2, pre-sale questionnaire. This is something that I do not see a lot of people do. So if someone had gone through this rapport building process or now sitting down, you would hand them the pre-sale questionnaire and you would ask them to fill this out. So they would sit there, they would go through it, they would answer questions about their, what challenges they had in the past, what are their goals, desires, are they committed to making a change today if they have the right program, right? You want them to be able to have to actually physically write this stuff down. That's going to increase the likelihood of them being more poised for being closed during the consult itself. And so this can drastically increase the likelihood of them closing, because when people write stuff down, when they commit, they are more likely, more poised to be able to jump into a consult conversation and be set up to be closed. And then now, last thing here, this is one of my favorite hacks, is the social proof. And so we call this the social proof binder. And so what we would simply do is, after someone was done filling out their pre-sale questionnaire form, I'd grab that from Susie. Susie, thank you so much for filling this out. I'm going to go ahead and get this with Josh, your transformation coach, so he can review this. But while he's doing that, go ahead and look through this. And so that way you have some fun reading material that's going to kind of motivate you towards your goals. And in that binder, what we would do is we would have social proof pictures, before and afters, Google reviews. It may not look like a lot on Google when you just see 10 reviews, but you print those 10 things out, it starts to look like a lot. You print out your Facebook reviews, you tell some stories about clients, right? All of those things together now create this huge social proof binder that people will flip through. It's okay if you have the stuff on a TV screen, if you have it on a tablet, things like that. But if you hand them the social proof binder, they will flip through it while they're waiting for the consult to begin. So this is the pre-sale process. Another bonus that I'm going to give you here that you can add on to this is to do some type of body analysis. So whether you have a Fit 3D, a shape scale, an InBody machine, or just a simple scale, it's really important that after all of this, before you start the consult, to go through and do a body analysis, because the more proof that you can show someone they're in a high risk zone, they have body fat here, things like that, that's just more ammo that you have in your consult itself. So let's move on here and let's get into the fun stuff, right? So now we are in the spot. We've covered step number 1 here. So now we're going to be talking about the consult process and the script itself. And so this is super important. So I'm not a huge fan of scripting, but I'm a huge fan of process. And the reason being is because if you have a strong process, like the process I just walked you through, right? Someone walking through the door, what we do before they get in the door, handing them the pre-sale questionnaire, giving them the social proof binder. No one has to memorize some crazy script to do those things, but all of those things will increase the ability of you to close at a higher percentage. So a process is key. And so it's the same thing with the consult itself. When we get to the point now where now we're sitting down, right now it's time to have the conversation that's going to lead into the pitch and into the close. We want a clearly defined process on what happens. And so kind of a 3 simple step process is going to be easy. Is something called a warm welcome, which is essentially setting the stage. So when you're sitting down at that consult, we want to set the stage for how this is going to go. And so it's short, right? It does not need to be long, but it's, hey, Susie, really pumped. I'm looking over this. I see that you definitely have some weight loss goals, right? I see the target. You got a wedding coming up that's super exciting. And so here's the deal. We've helped hundreds of people just like you do this. But before we even dive into all that, before I dive into how we've helped them, how we have success, all of that, what I want to do is just understand your goals, your challenges, kind of what you're looking for a little bit more, which is going to involve me asking some questions. And so let's do that. And if we do that and everything makes sense, and of course, I'll walk you through how the transformation program works. Is that cool with you? And then we get a yes. So what I just did there in that warm welcome is I set the stage in a correct way that will now lead me to 1, she gave me permission to ask questions. So we're not going to get the person that has a lot of resistance to these questions because they feel salesy or anything like that, right? Someone that's going to open up to us. And number 2, we got permission that if everything makes sense, then I'm going to be able to talk to her about the transformation program and how it works. AKA, she's going to let me pitch her on the transformation program if everything makes sense. And so this intro can really drastically change the tonality of the sales conversation. So then this gives us to the next part. Here's understanding their journey, and this is discovery. I want to go deep on the problem itself. What has Susie tried in the past to lose the 20 pounds? What programs did she try? Why didn't it work? I'm going into the specific challenges and things that she has tried. And then number 3, now I want to get into the destination. Where does she want to go? And so this is where we get a little bit more into the selling the vacation. Right, you've probably heard that before. You sell the vacation, not the plane flight, right? No one cares about the TSA lines. They don't care about the security, the getting on the plane flight or things like that. They just care about being in the beach, toes in the sand, drinking their Mai Tais. The issue here is you cannot successfully sell the vacation unless you're selling their vacation. If you don't understand those details, when you get to the pitch, you may sell the vacation, but are you actually selling her vacation? And if not, then you're losing it. And so it's really important that we understand their journey, because this gets us into number 3 here, which is visualizing success. Right? Because then now we can start to dive into the details here about, okay, so it sounds like if you had a nutrition program that can do this, it will help you get here. What would that mean for you? If you just have some of these key things down in your consult and your script process, if you can make sure you're covering these bases, you'll be set up to be able to pitch more successfully and be set up to be able to close more deals and collect more cash. All right, so I think we've successfully covered the consult process and the script. So now what we want to look at is how do we know when they're ready to sign up? We know we're ready to pitch when we're confident they can close. So what are the things that we're looking for to know that we can close? Well, 1, we've gotten all the answers to our consult process themselves. We understand their pains, we understand desires, we know that vacation, right? And then most importantly, we know what we call action threshold, right? We know that this is something they're serious about committing to, they're ready to take action. That's what we ask that question in the pre-sale questionnaire form. The things that we know that they're in a right buying state. And so now that we know that, now we are ready to get to the pitch part of the presentation. You should customize the pitch. So we're talking about the vacation, we're talking about the pain points and desires, all that stuff there. It should be customized to the information you got from the consult process, but how you explain how you get those results, what you do, what the program looks like, that should be standardized. The biggest mistake that I see people make is that they don't actually have a scripted pitch. And the reason why this is not good is because it does 2 things. 1, it makes it a lot hard to consistently close because you may say something sometimes that really clicks for someone, and then you don't say it again for the next person, and then we wonder why they didn't sign up. Number 2, it does a really bad job of setting proper expectations. The thing is that before we get into the pitch, we should have a transition that ties it all together. Something like, okay, Susie, so here's the deal. It's been 6 years of struggling with kind of being on and off with these 20 pounds. It's definitely looked like a lot of it is really just you haven't had the right program, right? Like when you did the Jenny Craig and that worked a little bit for nutrition, but it stopped working because you didn't have the long-term accountability and coaching that you needed. Is that correct? Okay, and so it sounds like you just need a program that can put this all together, and to be honest with you, I think this is our transformation program. I think it's a great fit for you. So if you're cool with it, I'd love to kind of walk you through how it works, and we can go ahead and get you started. Is that cool? Right, and so that's my transition. That's how I'm tying it all together to get into the pitch itself. And then now what happens is we want to present the offer in pillars. So the simplest way to have a pitch is to do this. 1, you have a statement that outlines the results that they're going to get. So now I've moved into that. I'm like, Susie, okay, perfect. So here's the deal. we have a transformation program. We use the 12-week transformation to get people started because it combines a few things in place that's going to allow you to not only just start losing that weight, drop off those 20 pounds, but keep it off forever. So that sound good to you? Perfect. So if you're cool with that, I can walk you through how it works. So we have that overarching statement, right, of this pitch that is the result with X program. And then now underneath that, we have pillars. And so I recommend that you have somewhere between 2 to 4 pillars that you have that explains how you get the result, okay? Now, this is really important. They're not 2 to 4 pillars that explain what they get. It's more of how does that nutrition program get them to the result. And so we should have the offer in pillars. The cool part about doing it like this is it's so easy to teach your staff how to have this one overarching statement and the 2 to 4 pillars that explains the transformation program or service that you offer. And so now this brings us into number 3 here, which is overcoming objections. If you are not training your team on how to overcome objections, if you're not taking the common objections that you get and teaching them how to overcome that successfully, you are leaving money on the table. The reason this is so important is because let's just say that you have 10 people that walk through your door this week. This is how it's usually going to play out. 2 of those people are going to buy. So we have our 20% here. And then from here, what's going to also happen is we're going to have 1 person that's not going to buy. 10% of people, for some weird reason, they just love to show up to consults and just not buy. And so what this means is that now we have 7 other people that are a question mark. And so these are people that are on the fence. These are people that with some type of persuasion would actually turn into a yes. And so this is how we can go from a 20% close rate to a 50%, 60%, 70% close rate. If we do this right, this is how you see some people talk about they have a 90% close rate. You can close more deals if you can overcome objections. And the hardest part about overcoming objections is the simplest part as well, is that you just simply have to ask for the sell more than 1 time. And this is something that you have to train your staff on. You have to test them. You have to role play. You have to check and make sure this is happening, because there have been studies that show that some people don't even ask for the close 1 time, let alone get to the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th one. And so if your team is not at least asking for the sell 3 times, then you are missing out on a lot of business. Now, the question is just how do we do that without being cheesy salesmen? How do we do that without being pushy? And so the way that we do this with overcoming objections is we do something that I like to call looping. We focus more so on program certainty. We make sure that we have that locked down no matter what first initial objection they give us. Because when someone immediately says, hey, I need to think about it, I need to talk to my spouse, or they give you those type of buying objections, if you're just trying to attack those objections, you're missing out on the big picture here. The big picture is that those first objections are usually not the truth. You want to loop around it and get to the heart of the matter, which is going to be, do they believe in the program itself? Because if that belief is not there, no matter what you try and overcome, it's not going to work. And so sometimes we just have to simply make sure, do we have program certainty? Was there anything they're confused about? Anything we need to clarify? Anything we need to point out or just show or have them sell themselves on why this is a good deal? The second loop that's going to matter is trust. Do they trust you as the person doing the consult? Do they trust the business? Do they trust the reviews you have? And so we have to make sure that we can loop around, do we have trust? And then if we have program certainty and we have trust and they're still not signing up, this is when we get to the 3rd loop, which is where we now attack objections. We call them out. We say, hey, those things are in place. Like, what is truly stopping you here today? Like, what do you need to be able to sign up? And now what happens is we can either get the yes or we get the real objection, that it really is a spouse objection, it really is a financial objection. And then we can do what we need to do to be able to work those objections to be able to still get the close or get the follow-up appointment. And so if you just have a solid training and system around overcoming objections, you are going to drastically increase the amount of deals that you close. And the next one here is you close a deal, right? And so in closing the deal, what we're just simply looking at here is going to be, what do we do after we get the close? And so really the biggest thing that we're looking here is expectations, right? Do we set proper expectations post-close to be able to set up that client journey for success? Do we book the next meeting from the meeting, right? If they're going to come in for a training session, do we give them resources to take home with them that kind of outline what they just bought, right? To make them excited, to be able to show their spouse, hey, I just bought this. This is everything I got. Do we have a follow-up sequence? Do they get a phone call from the coach or the owner or their accountability coach? What happens post-close? And so having a clear post-close journey is really key to prevent fall-off and to prevent buyer's remorse. And so guys, I hope that we put this stuff together and this can give you a lot of value. You now understand kind of the 3 main things that we're looking at here, which is going to be how do you pitch and close, your process there. Number 2 is going to be the consult process and the script itself. And then number 3 is going to be the pre-sale process, everything that happens before we get to the consult themselves. So figure out in these areas, which nuggets do you need to start taking action on, and make sure that you have a process in place, because if you do, you are not leaving sales a chance. You're building a scalable sales machine where you can close at a higher percentage and most importantly, collect more cash up front, making you more profitable on your client acquisition. So again, we are in a series on how to 10x your business, how to 10x in 2025. And so if you find value from that, if you want to still learn more, if you want to take the tactics, the tricks, the scripts, everything that we have from the clients that we've worked with in our businesses themselves on how we produce the revenue that we've produced, and I want to continue to share that with you, just hit that subscribe button so that way you are in tune for the next one of the series, and I will see you then.